waking up in the morning and eating a venomous African scorpion, by noon, swallowing a crate snake that's terrifying just to look at. Dinner will be a whole glass mortar filled with some mysterious concoction. Finally, he'll end with a late night meal featuring fresh ox tongue. Is this man crazy? Not at all. He's just training before going to prison, because in 6 months this man will have to do hard time. Stan is an unscrupulous con man who specializes in selling dilapidated houses to the elderly. And so, Stan was sentenced to 3 years in prison, with the sentence to begin in 6 months. A gentle reminder that American prisons are no different from hell on earth. A friend who had been in prison told Stan that after getting in, being beaten to death isn't the scary part. But for a scrawny guy like him, being tormented every day without being able to fight back, that's the scariest thing. After hearing this news, Stan fell into deep thought. He quickly spent a lot of money to hire a mysterious martial arts master, known as the Master. Stan wanted him to train him into a martial arts expert within half a year. The Master said that if Stan, with his small body, wanted to become the king of the prison, he must practice Chinese kung fu. The Master demonstrated what deep internal energy is. Look here, a finger jab that pierces through. Seeing this, Stan was eager to try. He extended his middle finger and used all his strength to do the same as his master. And just like that, his finger bone bent into a right angle. But the Master wasn't surprised. He just gently twisted it back, and the finger was normal again. Now, train properly, my friend. After that, Stan's demonic training officially began. First was strength training. Every day, he had to carry 2 barrels of cigarette butts weighing 150 kilograms and do 500 squats. Below his sensitive area was a sharp blade. If he accidentally touched it, this life would be over. No big deal. Next was training reflexes. Slow reaction. Meant getting hit by an iron ball. Third was training internal energy. Sleeping every day on a bed of nails. Then came Tai Chi and Wing Chun. And he also had to master various weapons. The most perverted part of the training was this. Stan couldn't understand it, but the Master said that after getting into prison, he would be thankful for what he was taught. But the hardest exercise of all was this. Sniff the stinky feet, baby. And so Stan diligently trained day after day. He even mastered the legendary one-finger Zen, let alone simple things like dodging balls and quick reactions. He could even knock his own master to the ground. Now, Stan was finally ready for the battlefield, on the day he had to go to prison. His lawyer told Stan that this was the most dangerous prison in all of America, so he should be careful. But Stan wasn't the least bit afraid. Who's afraid of who? Let's see who dares to bully me. See you in 3 years, brothers. After his bold declaration, Stan walked confidently to report in. On his first time in prison, Stan was sexually harassed by the man next to him. Hey, little one, what's your name? Tell big brother. But Stan, with a cold face and no hesitation, turned and pinched the man's sensitive spot, making him scream in pain. When he went to get his cell, an old man had taken Stan's bunk. Get down from there, old man, what? You got a problem? A newbie with no respect? Respect. Then let me teach you some. Now, Stan not only took the top bunk but also gained an elderly underling to avoid being bullied in prison. Stan had endured nails and thorns for half a year. He excelled in every challenge. Heaven did not fail him. After 6 months, Stan had learned real martial arts. But if he truly wanted to establish his place, he still had to fight. During the first day's activity time, Stan asked Larry who the top dog was here. Larry replied, Top dogs? There are quite a few, boss. That guy over there is the head of a mafia family. Once killed a man with a single punch. Another one is the leader of a Mexican gang with tons of followers, each willing to die for him unconditionally. And the one you absolutely can't mess with is the leader of the Nazi gang. He may seem like he doesn't want trouble, but he's dangerous and cunning, always carrying a weapon. Stan listened for a while and lost his patience. I asked you who the top dog is. Terrified, Larry pointed to a giant man. His name is Big Raymond, and his favorite thing is to bully weak guys. He also has a perverted hobby of sniffing people. Seeing this, Stan said, All right then, Let's mess with him. Stan walked over and deliberately provoked Big Raymond. I'll deal with you tonight. Did you just call me bitch? Yes, you son of a bitch. All right, that works for me. Then he called Raymond a pervert. The inmates gathered around to watch the show. Hearing himself insulted, Raymond turned purple with rage. He immediately took off his shirt, revealing his muscular, six-pack body. Raymond walked straight to Stan to teach the punk a lesson. In the end, Stan twisted Big Raymond's massive arm into a spiral and then proceeded to break his fingers one by one, the sound of bones cracking, echoing loudly. Even then, Stan didn't let up. And with that, Stan finally earned the title of prison boss. The Nazi gang, seeing how impressive he was, invited him to join their group. But Stan's answer was to punch their leader square in the face. Now, no one dared to challenge him, right? Unexpectedly, there was still someone who wasn't afraid to die. The black gang wanted to stand up and get revenge for Raymond, since they were, after all, brothers. The leader gave the order, and the whole gang swarmed like a broken beehive. Stan quickly grabbed a mop and knocked one of them to the ground. The first move of the Shaolin staff technique, one strike, one man down. Then Stan held another one, placed the staff horizontally on his shoulders, and with a push, the long staff became a pair of nunchucks. With a weapon in each hand, Stan looked like a god performing. Now, only one person was left, the leader of the black gang. Stan slowly, gently walked over and gave the man a punch that knocked out all of his gold front teeth. In this battle, Stan truly became the undisputed king of the prison. Wherever he went, people would stay 3 meters away. Even just eating a meal, he would gather a crowd of followers. Even Warden Francis invited Stan for tea and a chat, offered him premium cigars and aged liquor. Francis even arranged an office for Stan to work in. When his wife visited, Stan was given a private room with all amenities. But there's no such thing as a free lunch. Francis treated him well because he wanted his help with something big.
Oh, wait.
Francis wanted to have this prison demolished to build a luxury resort, then sell it to make a huge profit. It's true that getting rich isn't hard. Stan, who used to be a well-known real estate dealer, was the man Francis wanted for the job. In return, he would reduce Stan's sentence to just 1 year. Stan wasn't a good person either, so the two reached a cooperative agreement. But one day, while singing in the shower, Stan was ambushed by the Nazi gang, who sought revenge. The man had used a toothbrush to make a shiv, preparing for a surprise attack. But Stan saw their shadows in the reflection of the towel rack and dodged the fatal blow. He then took out his self-made weapon, soap nunchucks, and, imitating Bruce Lee, began to jump around to start the fight. And from that day on, Stan decided to punish anyone who used violence in this prison. In a certain American prison, inmates became passionate about dancing. In the yard, 2 men bumped into each other and started to dance. Not happy? Come out and dance to cheer up. Feeling down? Come join the dance for fun. When you feel like hitting someone, just dance to cool your anger. Francis was extremely surprised by this scene, as this prison was known as the most notorious. In the United States, just a few days ago, violence was everywhere in the prison, with fights and bloody heads everywhere. And it was this man, Stan, who changed everything. He ordered all inmates that violence was strictly forbidden. No one dared to disobey, because Stan was the best fighter there. Under his leadership, the prison gradually became more cheerful and peaceful. Black and white men could share a popsicle. 2 men from different gangs who accidentally bumped into each other would quickly apologize. Even the tattoo on a white inmate's body was changed from "Kill all blacks" to "Love our black brothers." On Stan's birthday, everyone gathered to celebrate warmly with him. They wore self-made birthday hats, drank orange juice from a toilet bowl, and enjoyed the party together. Gradually, everyone came to like this change, to like the cheerful, violence-free atmosphere. But this very thing made Francis furious, because he had a very evil plan. Francis wanted to use a prison riot to get the government to tear down the prison, turn it into a resort, and rake in a huge amount of money. Seeing that there was only 1 week left before the leadership delegation's inspection, Francis threatened Stan, demanding he restore the violent activities, the fighting, and even that there be bloodshed and death if possible. Otherwise, Stan's sentence would not be reduced. On one side was the happiness of others, on the other was his own future. Stan was no saint, so he couldn't be that noble. The next morning he went to the yard and stood before everyone, announcing that from now on he would not interfere in anything. Anyone could do whatever they wanted, even kill each other. As soon as he finished speaking, all the inmates returned to violence. Seeing this, Francis was delighted. He took pleasure in the pain of others. A week later, the leadership delegation arrived. The guards secretly distributed weapons to the inmates so they could icily slash and kill each other. Francis, however, was a man of his word to Stan. He recommended to his superiors that Stan's sentence be reduced. During the hearing, Stan's answers were excellent. But in a daze, he thought of the happy smiles of his fellow inmates, remembering all the fun they had together. But all of this was about to be destroyed by the crazy Warden, Francis. Caught between his conscience and his freedom, Stan finally chose the former, deciding to stand with his friends. Stan began to mock the officials. He called the woman a she-devil, and the two men gorillas. The leadership was furious and immediately kicked him out of the room. As soon as he was out, Stan punched a guard, knocking his teeth out. Then he ran straight to the yard. There, all the inmates were gathered, armed and ready to slaughter each other. Francis was also ready to open fire at any moment. But by the time Stan arrived, it was too late. Just then, Larry walked to the middle of the yard and turned on some music. Immediately, the two rival gang leaders turned their challenge to fight into a challenge to dance. Then others joined in. They all lost themselves in the music. The scene was as joyful as before. Even the inspection delegation couldn't help but be happy with them. Stan was so happy he laughed like a fool, but Francis was completely insane. Having lost all reason, he snatched a gun and started firing wildly at the crowd. Applause, finally. Francis turned the gun on Stan, but at the critical moment, a foot landed on Francis's face, knocking him unconscious. It turned out that Stan's wife and lawyer had arrived just in time. 3 years later, Stan was released from prison on schedule. Everyone ran to hug him as a farewell. There was even an inmate who idolized Stan so much that he got a tattoo of his face to show his gratitude. And in reality, Stan himself had completely changed. He believed that after leaving prison, he would be a new, better person. Stan was determined not to return to his old, unethical work. He would turn over a new leaf.